Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Hits. This is the second episode covering UAlbany and their League of Legends esports team, and today we're going to be taking a look at the ECAC Final against the ECPI Rams, where UAlbany was actually able to walk away with a commanding victory. We're going to take a look at exactly what they did and why they were so successful and they were able to take this best of 5 series. And for those who didn't watch the first episode, you're going to be missing out on just how much commonality there is in these games and the ones that came before it lower in the tournament. We're going to get into all of that and exactly how UAlbany is taking these wins and running away with gold leads right after this. A reminder that Critical Hits is made possible because of CSMG and their brand new esports center Twitch channel, esportsu at esportsu network at twitchtv.com. You can check them out for all collegiate esports in the NJCAA and ECAC conferences and for viewings of this show and other great shows like it under the Critical Hits banner and other great content coming to you on college esports. Lots of great stuff there, guys. Check it out. So we are going to get underway with you here, and we're going to be taking a look at exactly what they are doing here now. Just a note, as compared to the previous episode, this is going to be a bit of a shorter, more condensed episode to accommodate for the fact that this was a best of 5. Now, I actually really prefer best of 5s in terms of League of Legends, in terms of getting that high level play, teams adapting to other teams and really getting the best out of their players. I feel like best of 5 are definitely the way to go, but we won't be able to go as in depth as previously we were able to do and just go through every single aspect of every game. So we're kind of just going to fast forward through the drafts, and I'm going to take you through some of those crucial elements that happen, some of those big plays during those games. And so we're going to take a look here, and as we fast forward through the draft here, we're going to see that KFew goes on the Pantheon pick, but that might just be a flex pick. Now, I really want to go into this because especially now in League of Legends, there is a lot of flexible picks. Something like Pantheon or Set can really be a jungler, a top laner, or a support, although I feel like they do have the most amount of success in the support role. But now Morgana is also an extremely powerful support, but she can't be flexed in the mid lane as well, especially as a counter to something like a Orianna or a LeBlanc. So again, good flex picks coming out from the side of UAlbany here. And with the Elise locked in, we know that Pantheon will not be a jungler, so Pantheon can either be a top laner or a support. And again, they're keeping ECPI guessing with that. They're not sure where they're going to go. Meanwhile, ECPI, Galio, basically has to be a mid laner. Might be a flex into the support role, but he hasn't really been finding too much success there. Kled locked in as the top laner, and Nunu also locked in that jungle position. And as you can see, the lock-in coming in now. Kled top, Galio mid, Nunu in the jungle, Xayah AD carry, and Rakan support. Meanwhile, we're seeing a Pantheon mid lane coming out from the side of UAlbany. Ashe and the AD carry role, Morgana in the supporting role, Elise in the jungle, and Shen in the top side. Now, this is an extremely powerful team composition, and the reason is because of the potential for cross-map plays. Shen has a near-global ultimate to be able to support his teammates anywhere they need to be. Extremely powerful. And then Pantheon has a global, near global, pretty long range ultimate where he can engage onto the side of the enemy team as well, cutting off routes of escape, getting a lot of damage down, and then basically getting a reset stack of his passive where he can W somebody, get a lot of damage down, and get that stun off. So a big cross map play composition coming out from the side of UAlbany, and we're going to take a look at how successful that was in just a minute. So as we can see here, ECPI going for a bit of a cheese, though both teams stacked up on top of each other, seeing who can get in first. Pantheon's going to be roaming in with that first W. He gets the stun. UAlbany is trading. They lose the kill. They lose the good Ken is taken out. And I mean, I don't know. That was not a good play from the side of UAlbany, to be honest. I understand what they're trying to do there. They're trying to go for that Pantheon cheese, get that stun, get that damage done quickly, and maybe follow up with the Elise cocoon. I don't think they were expecting to find the entire team of ECPI there, and so they trade, and Xayah and Rakan both pick up 2 early kills when the entire team does get at least 1 assist. Nunu and Galio picking up 2 assists off of that, so a very sloppy play on the side of UAlbany, but it is still early, still a lot of time to come back. But again, I really want to stress where the success is going to be coming from UAlbany in this game. It's going to be Kfu. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that right, but Kfu on the Shen with that cross-map global ultimate pressure. Pantheon in the mid lane going for a more full damage build. Probably a first item Umbral Glaive is we're going to see coming out from him. Definitely a Black Cleaver there going to be as well. And with Conquer, he has that sustain. He has that healing that he has off of his auto attacks, which of course he's constantly stacking to get the empowered passive off. And with his ultimate, he can roam pretty easily to the bot lane with his ultimate, trying to lock them down, especially if they have to push up. And then they also know that as long as this is after level 6, Shen could also TP and back him up, get him out of a tough spot as well. So basically, you do not want to be caught out with this Pantheon, because it can turn a 2v2 into a 3v2 into a 4v2 very quickly, and Elise is slippery as well with those spiderlings being able to tank those tower shots. So if I was ECPI, I would be very scared of potential tower dives going into the mid game. Now we're going to fast forward just a little bit here onto the side of UAlbany, and we're going to go to the approximate, I believe it's the 4-minute mark here. So what we saw there is we actually just missed it, so we're going to take 1 second back and take a look at what happened in that bottom lane fight. So great, this is what happens here. They're trying to double Scuttle, so I got to explain this here. So you really want Scuttle. Scuttle is this little guy right here, this cute little crab looking thing known as the scuttle crab. Now what they provide is vision of the river. So the river is where the objectives are housed. On the bottom side of the map, it's the dragon pit, and on the top side of the map, it is the Baron pit, both extremely important objectives. And early in the game, before Baron spawns, it is the Rift Herald. Rift Herald, crucial to secure, makes it extremely easy to take down towers. It can be summoned into lane and take out a tower, doing a massive charge, taking out a big chunk of tower damage. And then especially early game, before the 14-minute marks, while turret plating is still up, as those turrets plates fall, you get bonus gold for taking them down. I believe there's 5 plates per tower, so again, a lot of gold can be secured if you get that early enough, but once it's gone, it's gone. And there is also a first tower bonus, so the first team that's actually able to take down a tower gets some bonus gold from that as well, making Rift Herald an extremely important objective. While Dragon, you really want to be stacking them, again, getting as many as you can, and as those benefits build up, they also transform the map. Cloud Drake, Fire Drake, Earth Drake, and Ocean Side Drake, making some interesting changes to the map, such as the positioning of certain blast cones and healing pods, as well as changing the actual position of the jungle as well, and giving bonuses such as movement speed, such as advanced healing, more movement speed, as I mentioned, or more damage or more healing. So stuff like that is also why Dragon is so important. And once you get 4 dragons, you are able to get the Elder, and that's basically a game-ending dragon, just a big buff to damage. So that is why this is worth contesting on the side of ECPI and UAlbany. They definitely want to secure that vision in the river. That's what you can set that up as. And unlike a normal ward, when you take down a crab, you cannot clear it with a ward. Once it's down, it's down. You can't take it out like a normal ward. If you have a sweeper or Umbral Glaive passive or something like that, you cannot clear it. Once it's down, it's down. And so any type of attempt to get on the objective, the enemy team will have vision of it. That's why it's so valuable, and that's why both ECPI and UAlbany are deciding to play a game of chicken here to see just how hard they are willing to commit. And so we can watch that fight take place now. Elise able to land the stun on Nunu, and the Shen comes down from top side as well. Pantheon able to get the second Q off and able to W, and with his E. Now, crucially, Pantheon has a ridiculous ability on his E, in my opinion, where he can negate all damage coming from a particular direction for a second or two. That's what his E does, and that's why he's able to take fights that look like they should be fights that he loses, but what you have to remember is he's just completely able to negate incoming damage for a second. And as we can see, he is going for that lethality build. He's got the corrupting pots, he's got the biscuit, and he's going for that lethality dirk. So I do believe a first item Umbral Glaive is going to be coming out on the side of Pantheon, going to be negating some armor, going to have a lot of strong engage. So that is a fight that is forced by the presence of objectives, and that is why UAlbany does seem to be picking up wins in their games, as they do understand that it isn't just about kills, and they're placing a huge premium on those objectives and on the precursor mini objectives going towards them, such as getting Scuttle Crab. You do not want to be double crabbed at any stage of the game, especially not in the 4 or 5 minute mark when Dragon will be spawning, when Rift Herald will be spawning, but that is exactly what UAlbany is able to do. And additionally, from just taking out that objective control and kind of giving them priority, which they now have on the side of their mid lane. They do have mid lane priority. Pantheon now extremely strong. And on the side of top side, Shen pretty much does win the Kled matchup unless something disastrous happens in terms of itemization. Pretty much an early Bramble Vest can take Kled out of the game. And here we can see Elise able to get that stun that I was talking about, able to follow up with her E, able to go in on him, and with Galio showing up here, they have to have a very safe fight. Unfortunately, Elise does go too deep, and now the Galio is another global ultimate coming up to back him up, but Pantheon and Shen are just too strong. One stun follows into a taunt, follows into an enhanced auto attack, and that enhanced auto attack is then followed up by an enhanced Pantheon Q, another stun, and both of them using their damage negating abilities. Pantheon's shield and Shen's sword to negate any damage coming in. So really a foolish fight on the side of ECPI. As strong as the Galio follow-up is, he does not have that Zhonya's Hourglass completed. He has those 2 D-rings and the Seeker's Arm Guard, but not enough damage, not enough burst coming out on the side of Galio, and really foolish. Elise did overextend, but got some good damage down and able to pick up 1 kill and some assists as well. So again, a very strong performance from Reaper789. Usually we'll see him on the Kayn, and you will see him on the Kayn later in the series. But I really want to explain how important that fight was. With that fight, they have now fully established bot lane priority, mid lane priority, and top side priority. Shen is now at 0 kills, actually, but he has 5 assists, getting pretty strong, going for that Tiamat. So he now knows he's pretty far ahead. He can itemize that kind of damage. And while Elise has now finished her blue jungle item with the AP, and Pantheon now has 3 kills. He does have that first item, Umbral Glaive, coming out. So a lot of lethality and armor negating coming out on the side of Pantheon now. Extreme threat here. And with Conquer, he's going to be able to do quite a bit of sustained damage and pretty much push out his wave. Now asking on to the side of ECPI, guys, do you want to defend your tower? Do you want to lose a wave, or do you want to lose Dragon? Because we are going to make sure that nothing you do has no cost. Everything is going to cost you something on the opposite sides of the map. ECPI responds by trying to shove the bot lane in, but Ashe has pretty decent wave clear. Now Galio ulti coming in onto the side of Morgana, but Morgana, as she dies, is able to get that stun. Pantheon ulti follows up. Shen is in there blocking the auto attack damage. Dullen trying to get as much damage out while not being hit by the Nunu ulti. He dodges that. He's able to get it out, and they're trading back 1 for 2 actually onto the side of ECPI. ECPI follows up. Kled able to counter him, able to take him out, and this is where Reaper overextends. It was a brave fight, a lot of good follow-up, but not enough follow-through damage. What was actually very crucial there is what Dullen was basically zoned off from being able to auto-attack any of the really low members by that extremely well-placed Nunu ulti. Good Ken Price here trying to maybe trade something back, but even with that Pantheon E, he's not going to be able to find it, and that was a very foolish engage, basically giving up their entire gold lead and flipping it back to ECPI. I know Kafun likes to do this type of play when he's on the Mordekaiser, and we're actually going to see that later in this series, but that's not what happens here. They lose the fight, they lose the priority, and they give ECPI that second dragon. Now, it is an open question of who's going to be able to get 4th or 5th dragon here. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th dragon in the form of Elder. And so what happens here is, unfortunately, UAlbany is expecting a strong performance from their top laner, Cafu. He likes getting fed. He gets very fed on the Mordekaiser. That's what happened in their series against St. Rose. But here, not happening. He's mostly picking up assists, and so he's actually not getting as much damage out as he would hope, whereas Kled has that finished Black Cleaver and the Tiamat, and 105 CS. Cafu is with the 77 CS. Roaming on Shen, extremely powerful, but it does mean you miss CS waves, which means you miss gold, and so he does not have his Hydra completed. He'd probably be going for the Titanic Hydra build, get that tankiness and some of that damage out at the same time. But the point is, he does not have that item. He does not have the enhanced damage or the ability to cancel auto attacks and get that double auto attack from the auto reset. He is able to do it off the normal Tiamat active, but again, not as much damage coming out. And unfortunately, they're not able to trade back. So while Pantheon is pretty fed, his damage is kind of on and off. It's pretty situational. It's pretty bursty, jumping on someone, getting that damage out, and then getting out while taking not too much damage as a result of the E. Unfortunately, he got a pretty good amount of burst down, but not enough to take more than one person out. And so now we see UAlbany having to reset, having to adjust to the fact that they have now basically thrown most of their gold lead, and now they have to decide whether or not Rift Herald is the next objective they want, the next thing on their game plan. So we are going to fast forward just a little bit here. What I want to draw your attention to is at the... So right, this is now, we're going to fast forward to this Herald fight here. Both sides know that this is an extremely important objective, and how they can zone people off is going to determine how much time they have to actually take it. Nunu using his W to try and scare people out. That W was his snowball there, which would have stunned anyone in his, if he ran into them. So he kind of zones everyone out, says, hey, watch out, I got this. And he's able to clear vision as a result. He's got that sweeper, and he is able to take out that vision control. Unfortunately, Kled's vision that he placed a little earlier in the VOD has now been taken down, and you cannot see it. So ECPI a little bit blind on the blue side of UAlbany. So again, this is what I really want to emphasize. UAlbany knows where their vision control needs to be, and if you look at how many wards are on the map, all of it is covering that top side river, as well as some in the bottom side, as well as Dragon is coming up. So all their vision is not centered so much around getting some kind of vision onto their side on the blue team. Basically, no vision in red and top side red. All their vision focused on river, their own red side, and the top and the bottom side river, So a lot of it is focused on the objectives, whereas red side would probably be for trying to get picks. As we can see, Kled is now trying to take this down by himself, but Good Ken is going to show up there, try to take him out, and a 3v1 onto the side of Kled. He is shut down. And guys, this is why vision control is so important. They knew that he was there. They're willing to trade that dragon for it. It's a 3v1. They knew he was going to take it. They knew that they were not going to be able to get both objectives, so they decided that because Kled was by himself on the Rift Herald, he would be the easier target there, and so they were able to pick up that additional Rift Herald, and now they'll have some pressure that they can use onto the map to take down some towers, force some dives maybe, and take some gold back. They are now solidly back in the gold lead, actually, after that shutdown on Kled. So we'll see where they can actually put that pressure. But what I really want to emphasize is how important it is to cut your losses and understand that you cannot take every single objective, especially if a team is on a 4v1 on an objective. Meanwhile, they send their other player to try and 1v1 a lower objective. It is more successful for you to try and go for that stack, try to get that 3-on-1 easier. Basically, it's a guaranteed kill unless there's a ridiculous outplay, and you can almost always force them off of that objective. So I think that's a really good call on the side of UAlbany. They know that at this point, Zai is pretty fed. They're not going to be able to get that dragon contest, and they were kind of out of position for it anyway. So Herald and contesting Kled on it was the right move there. Now, where I really want to focus is this next Baron fight that's going to result in UAlbany basically getting taken out for much of what they're worth here. They're going to lose the Baron off this next call, and so I just really want to fast forward a little bit to where we can see what happens here. We see a fight break out in the top side between Kled and Shen here, and Pantheon shows up, so let's take a look at that from the very beginning of the fight. So if we contract this fight from its very beginning, we see Pantheon roaming to the top side, Shen engaging onto the Kled, re-engaging, trying to get that fight. Pantheon jumps, tries to get the stun, but he cannot be slowed. That's Kled popping his ultimate, and then the re-engage coming in from the Galio. Now this should have been a pretty easy pick onto the side of Kled having to use his ultimate and Galio being forced to TP in there. But what happens on the mid side is what's going to determine this fight. Shen TPs, but unfortunately Reaper is taken out on the Elise. Then Kafu is taken out, and Good Ken tries to back up, but again, just too much damage coming out on the side of I Still Love You on the Xayah. They're able to take this tower, siege it out, and the first tower bonus does come out from them, and then they can rotate, and they know that with a 19-second cooldown on the enemy jungler, 24-second cooldown on the Shen, and 25-second cooldown on the mid laner, this is a free Baron. Basically, this is the exact fight you want to take. You want to get them out of position. You want to force those cross-map plays. And while it is an extremely strong cross-map comp, you do need to get that damage out. Showing up on the other side of the map from one place quickly is only half the battle. You do have to get that damage out. That's what UAlbany was unable to do. They took that fight. They really did not have good comms. They were really not trying to focus one person at one time, and so that consistent damage from the side of Xayah, coupled with the Nunu ulti and the Galio ultimate, led to some pretty strong follow-up, and they are able to take down 3 key members of UAlbany and secure a tower and a dragon. And then a Baron, for it. An extremely strong play onto the side of ECPI, and as you can see here, they do have a 4,000 gold lead roughly, and so this is where this is where the game really shifts in their favor. Pantheon might start falling off soon. He does have that Umbral Glaive and the Black Cleaver completed, looking like he might go for a Titanic Hydra here, possibly a Starix Gauge as well onto his side. Meanwhile, this is where Galio is turning on. He has the Proto Belt completed. He now has certain parts. He's going to go for a Blasting Wand. He has some more damage there coming out as well. Some of those AP items clocking in. So Galio is basically turning on and becoming more powerful right as Pantheon is falling off. This is why Pantheon mid is a bit of a risky pick in my opinion. He does not have that late game scaling. Pantheon has strong early game stats, but not the best AD scaling, so he does seem to fall off pretty easily, and he is very reliant on his teammates being able to follow up on him. But unfortunately, that follow up is that sustained damage, and that sustained damage is coming from the most underfunded part of UAlbany's team composition right now, and that is Dullen on the Ashe. Not a single kill, only 2 assists, a Bork and a Zeal completed only, just not enough damage, especially not when you compare it to the completed Essence Reaver onto the side of Xayah, her BF Sword, and 2 Doran's Blades, completed Berserker Greaves. So Ashe, pretty good utility usually, but I do believe that so far Dullen has missed every single arrow, using it more as a last second cross-map secure and not using it necessarily to engage and secure picks. So while this is an extremely strong comp with quite a few bits of stun and engages coming onto their side, he actually is able to finish his Runon's Hurricane, so that's going to give him some decent attack speed onto the side of Ashe, but still pretty underpowered, definitely under-leveled compared to Xayah. He's down 1 level, but he does have his 2nd tier ultimate now. Level 11 is when you get your 2nd level up for your ultimate ability, so that is good. That's going to be a longer stun onto the side of Ashe. So at the very least, they're probably going to have better wave clear now as a result of that Runon's Hurricane, and definitely more on-hit effects, so Ashe's Q is going to be able to get just quite a bit more damage out. But we're going to see if I Still Love You is still able to secure that. And they have to respect the damage coming out of Xayah, and Nunu's able to secure the dragon. That's the one good thing about Nunu, is extremely strong with his engages and able to take out objectives quite quickly. And Elise here is in a rough spot. She's able to cocoon out, able to try and get back, but Dullen is not able to get as much damage out as he wanted. He was able to trade quite a bit. He chunked like a solid 20% off of all their health bars using that boosted attack speed from his empowered Q, but not enough. He needed some sort of follow-up, and he doesn't have anything that could cut through armor at the moment. And so something like the Seeker's Arm Guard onto the side of Galio is going to be keeping him quite tanky and quite safe. Maybe if he can get some sort of Mortal Reminder. But again, this is the first Ashe ulti that lands onto the side of Kled, but Kled is able to dash out, and Nunu is right behind them to disengage and even maybe take Reaper out. A flash coming out from the side of Zach19, and he's able to escape. And so not the Morgana Q, not the Elise E, not anything is able to really connect aside from the Ashe ulti. And yeah, they get the Ashe ulti out, and they get some solid damage onto the side of GM Pod, but they're not going to get much off of this. And so this is really where UAlbany is going for a desperation play. So I really want to point out that Kfu is not the carry. He's not on a Mordekaiser. He's not on a pick that can just 1v5 walk into someone and take those crazy fights and walk out with them. He is on a weakened pick. The most amount of damage is the most amount of gold on the side of UAlbany has come out on the side of Reaper 789 and Pantheon, and as a result, they are not quite able to win these fights as much as they need. Dullen is not able to get the damage out in these fights that he wants to. Now what I want to emphasize here is that ECPI is able to pick up this quick win as a result of what we mentioned before, of UAlbany basically giving up that gold lead, not giving Kafui a strong enough of a carry. They're able to get those 4 dragons, and that is where they fall apart. Xayah is extremely strong, Ashe extremely weak, and they are just able to force it down. They have the superior siege comp. They were able to take out those towers, and they got in. Pantheon got as many kills early as he could have expected to get, but Pantheon is going to fall off, while Galio does have that consistent damage output, and Xayah just scales and scales harder and harder, while Ashe was not given any gold early and fell behind. And as a result of that, that is what UAlbany was not able to do. UAlbany taking the loss there. So again, let's recap. UAlbany had a strong start. They were able to get those early objectives. However, they contested one. They lost for it. They gave up one dragon, and then they did not have any damage from those early kills onto scaling picks. It was all onto early game burst damage. Elise was not able to get those picks. She got quite a few kills early, but again, she fell off. Once her damage fell off, she really only has that one skill shot in the form of her stun, and once she doesn't land that, she's effectively useless, while Nunu has a lot of crowd control. And again, he's not a source of damage, he's really just a source of slowing and getting some utility. And then Xayah is able to shine, and Kled more of a carry pick than Shen for sure, able to get more consistent damage off, and even the cross map global pressure from that Shen and from the Pantheon is countered there by the Galio and his ultimate there. So again, UAlbany not putting Cafu on a carry and not funneling gold towards their AD carry is what makes them not be able to succeed there. A lot of those early kills not going on the damage there. And again, the Pantheon mid pick, not a huge fan of it. While in theory it sounds good, and in that draft we could see why they think it might work, it really does seem to fall off. And I think Pantheon is able to honestly get the same amount of damage out on the support role, and then you can get the aftershock runes. Then again, much more suited to engaging, disengaging, taking those fights, taking those trades, and poking right straight back, and being able to disengage as well. So I think that Pantheon in the mid pick was not a successful strategy, and I don't think we'll see UAlbany adopting it into the future going forward. But I must mention that they do end up winning this ECAC final, so we're going to take a look at some of the other games in this series to see how they adapt to this loss. And spoiler alert, it's putting Cafu on Mordekaiser and letting him run through the entire team, but we're going to take a look at that in just 1 second. So that's where we're leaving this episode off. As we can see, UAlbany is down a game to ECPI, and it is because their top laner was not able to carry, their mid laner was not on a carry, and Dullen in that ADC role was not able to get the damage out that he needed to. But we're going to see exactly how UAlbany is able to come back and exactly what they do to secure that victory in this best of 5 on the next episode of Critical Hits. Can't wait for you guys to join us, and I want to thank CSMG Esports again for picking up Critical Hits and allowing us to do our content now more integrated with them on their Twitch channel. Again, that's Esports U Network on twitch.tv, and you can catch our content with Critical Hits, my solo shows, Frank's solo shows, and all the great content we have coming your way on the Critical Hits banner on that channel. So guys, thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode, where once again we'll be taking a look at how UAlbany comes back from a pretty devastating loss.